6 o'clock. I'd like to call Independent School District 721 School Board meeting into session at 6 o'clock. We're going to have to do roll call for all motions here and approvals. So because we have some people that are attending virtually today. So Mark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Leo is absent.
He's on.
Is he? Okay, Leo.
Here.
Matt, I'm here. Dennis.
Here.
Kim.
Here.
Jean.
Here.
Tammy.
Here.
Roll call 7-0. Let's stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes for last, to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Second.
All right, roll call. Mark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Me, yes. Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. All right. We do not have a consent agenda. Let's do, so first on the list here is approval of new high school course.
Good evening. My name is Nicole Adams. I'm the principal at New Prague High School, and I'm here tonight to present a proposal for a course change and a bit of a change in our scope and sequence of our social studies curriculum at the high school. In fact, we were just talking about how it's really nice to be able to share something with you that's not COVID related and is actually instructional and curriculum related. So on the screen, you'll notice that the current sequence of courses at the high school requires students to complete 7 credits of social studies. It starts in the 9th grade with American Civics and then progresses from there with the required courses as outlined, and also requires that all students take a social studies elective. What we are proposing is that we change civics from grade 9 and move that to grade 12, and I'll explain the rationale for it in a bit here, and replace that course with a freshman social studies seminar, which I will also share a little bit about what that entails. Students will still be required to take 7 social studies credits, so it doesn't change the credit number for students, it just changes which courses are required. We will still continue to offer social studies electives. We just won't require that students choose one of those. So I think what you'll see is probably just a smaller number of electives that students register for, those that have a particularly high interest in the area. The rationale for the proposed change, we've actually talked about this for a couple of years now. And it really started with a conversation around the fact that civics for 9th graders is very challenging. These are really abstract concepts for younger students. And at that point, they're really not ready to be engaging in sophisticated political or conversations around government. Civics in the senior year is more relevant for students that are about to become voting citizens. We can also have more nuanced conversations, and it can also be tied more directly to current events that they are asking more specific questions about. A part of the ninth grade civics curriculum has been a community service project, and seniors would have a much more varied opportunities to contribute to that. Ninth graders, it's very difficult because many of those opportunities are off-site, and so transportation is always a challenge. Seniors are a lot more mobile. Of course, we would continue to provide options for those who need it, but it would give them a lot more latitude in choosing areas of service that are more aligned to their interest. Also, as mentioned before, the abstract civics concepts are just a better developmental fit for older students. Also, creating a new ninth grade course, which I'll share a little bit more about where we see that course going in a minute, is an opportunity to add foundational skills-based course for ninth graders. We're finding that there are a lot of skills that students would really benefit from having a much greater concentration on at a younger age that would really lay the framework for all future humanities courses. Additionally, it adds a required course for seniors. At this time, with 47 credits required to graduate, there's 56 opportunities for seniors to earn 47 credits by the time they graduate. So conceivably, students who have completed all of their graduation requirements could nearly complete their, we have many students that actually do graduate early because of that. But additionally, there's only 3 required courses during their senior year. So this would add a 4th required course and kind of help keep them focused and engaged in the curriculum. Also, college political science that we offer through Southwest State also meets this requirement for civics, which would mean another opportunity for more students to take a concurrent enrollment course. And with it being offered the senior year, we do anticipate that we're going to see an increased enrollment. That course often, it kind of runs every other year, and sometimes it's challenging to get students involved in that course because there are so many other elective courses that they choose from. So, starting in the fall of 2021, so next fall, all ninth graders would start taking the ninth grade seminar, and then they would take civics in the fall of 2025. All students currently in grades 10 through 12, they will have already taken civics, so we'll have 3 years where we won't have civics being offered, but that's not problematic because the current students have already taken it, and the freshmen will take it senior year. So the elements of freshman seminar that we are looking to really review, we're looking at foundational skills for all humanities-based courses. We're looking at items like media literacy, digital citizenship, civic values and principles, historical text and nonfiction literacy, and historical thinking skills. All course components are tied to state standards or national standards that have already been adopted by the district. So this summer, the Social Studies Department would work on fully developing this course. I should probably also mention that the state will be coming out with a new draft of new social studies standards this spring to be fully implemented by 23-24. So this will also give us an opportunity to start the process of making sure that we are implementing those standards appropriately. So just an example of some of the standards that we're looking at. This is a very broad standard, but it's under civic skills. And it really looks at the idea of a democratic government depending on informed and engaged citizens who exhibit civic skills and values, practice civics discourse, vote and participate in elections, apply inquiry and analysis skills, and take action to solve problems and shape public policy. So we're really interested in students engaging with different issues, different texts, different facts, and engaging in the skill of practicing civil discourse with one another and arriving at their own conclusions based on their interpretation and analysis of those facts. And I won't read all of these to you, but very similar, we're looking at historical thinking skills, again, really focusing on analysis and drawing conclusions of how and why things have occurred, but they are very specific to social studies literacy. And so this really gets into students being able to analyze nonfiction texts, which is a skill that they're going to need throughout high school and beyond. And lastly, we'd really like to focus on students gaining a better understanding of media literacy and digital citizenship. This is a very real component of our lives now, but we don't have a place where it's necessarily clearly focused on in our curriculum. Our T class does focus on it to a certain extent, and our English language course does, freshman courses also do focus on this to a certain extent, but we'd like to take this opportunity to really engage with this more fully with our youngest students. And as you can see, it really focuses on things like data, privacy and security, a digital footprint, relationships and communications online, cyberbullying, hate speech, and news and media literacy. And these are all very important 21st century skills that we'd like to more robustly address. So that's just a brief overview, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
What's digital citizenship?
Digital citizenship. So how are you a good citizenship in the world of social media? So really, you know, the idea that what you post now can follow you, and really thinking before you post, and engaging empathy online, and really addressing the long-term consequences of posting.
What electives would be kind of, not eliminated, but I guess what are some of the other electives that are currently offered,
Sure.
and what would those be?
Well, the ones that we end up running will depend largely on what students register for. That will kind of be where we're starting. But we currently offer sociology, psychology, CIS US History 1, CIS US History 2, diverse perspectives and current social issues, and Minnesota history.
So none of those are required at all. Those are just all.
Right now, students are required to choose one of those.
Okay.
So we would propose that none of those would be required. So we'll see which ones.
Demand for each
Yes.
one. Yep. Okay.
And we have proposed that what we might do is actually alternate year to year, so that we might designate sociology runs 1 year, psychology the next, so that students would have an opportunity to take both if they so choose, rather than try to spread them out across multiple courses.
Sure. Any other questions, or go ahead?
I think the media standards that the list you have on here, I think that's really great, because I think it's a perfect time to be hitting up ninth graders with all the different things that can be going on.
Yep, we see the consequences of maybe not doing that, and so we want to try to be a little more proactive in addressing that.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea to move civics to the 12th grade.
I believe the rationale that you put forth really makes a lot of sense. Moving some of those things to 12th grade makes it more meaningful for the students, I think.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the new?
Second.
All right, motioned and seconded. Roll call vote. Mark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt, yes. Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
All right, moving on to 6.2, the preliminary 21-22 budget discussion with Sandy. So this has been a simple thing to work on.
Oh, brother, yeah. Okay, good evening. Normally at the February meeting, I'd have the 5-year financial projections done. However, with the complex picture we have this year and all the vaccination work that I've been doing on the HR side, I'm a little bit behind, but catching up quickly. So tonight I just want to have a preliminary budget discussion with you, just talk a little bit about the parameters, where I think we might end up the year, and just try to get your thinking around this, and then more information will be coming in the March meeting. First of all, just some comments on our current year budget that was approved in December. Our current enrollment is about 19 pupil units higher than above the revised projection, so that's good. So our enrollment projections, albeit they were revised down significantly, are looking good for what we planned in the revised budget. Just want to talk a little about the governor's proposal. The governor has proposed a one-time partial reimbursement for enrollment loss, which would just be about $243,000 for us. There is a bill, I don't know if it's in the House or the Senate, that would use last year's enrollment for gen ed revenue. Don't know what chances anything has of passing at this point, but I'm really not counting on this. The Republicans in the Senate have talked about just the schools should be open, the private schools are open, and I'm not sure if this will any kind of protection would pass for public schools. Then when I had the revised budget presented in December, I talked about, we still have some CARES money that was actually granted to us last April 1st, that we hadn't used yet because we got the CRF funds of $1 million that we had to spend by December 30th. And so we have about $87,000 in costs that were approved in the revised budget that I can use CARES money for. Now, we do have also more money coming. I just attended a presentation on Friday about it. The final numbers aren't done yet, and we're starting to get a better idea of what we can spend the money on. And that can carry over into next year. So it's possible we could, that could help us next year as well. This year, the remainder of this year, what we've been focusing on for COVID expenses is really having reserve subs and para-reserve subs available to keep our buildings in session, so we don't have to close school for lack of subs and personnel. So that really is our focus. And so we probably won't spend the whole second CARES Act money, but we will spend a portion of it. And I think that additional COVID funding may be coming as part of the stimulus bill that's going through the federal government right now, but again, no details on that at all. I always plan to come in under budget. Typically, I come in about 1.5% under budget. For our updated assigned fund balance projection, I'm using 99%. I'm usually pretty conservative in that. So that's just where our current budget stands right now. Still a lot of unknowns, but getting a little bit clearer with some of the federal grants. So this is our fund balance, our unassigned fund balance history, actually. This is just unassigned. And so you can see we finished up 1920 at 7.8 million. The preliminary budget had us at about 5.7 million. The revised budget, 4.7. I'm thinking our updated fund balance would be 5.2, which is just slightly less than what my preliminary budget was after a whole bunch of changes and all that. And our 8% goal is about 3.5 million. So you can see where we may end up there. These are the enrollment projections that you approved in November, again showing that our original enrollment projection for 2021 was 4,295 students. We updated that to 4,076 students, and we're about 19 students ahead of that right now. And then you see we're the plan is to go up. We are going to start communicating with some of the families that didn't enroll this year, homeschool and private school. We're starting to do that in March, and try to engage those families first from Tim's level, and then more at the school level. So when we looked at planning for 21-22, obviously finances are still very volatile and difficult to plan. They change very quickly. I hope to have a minimum of $1.8 million unassigned fund balance cushion at the end of the year to our fund balance goal. Could be higher, but again, I'm conservative. Gen ed revenue, we're looking at the governor's proposal is a 1% increase in year one and 2.5% in year two, which is good for the second year, but not very good for next year. We have some good news in the fact that our K numbers are looking really good. We have our projection of 322. We currently have 305 registered with a lot still yet to be contacted, and we always get more coming in during the summer. So our 322 number looks very good right now. And so we're keeping our fingers crossed that that is going to come through for us. And again, we will start to engage families that didn't enroll this year to try to, understand what their plans are for next year. Excuse me. On the expense side, all our labor contracts end 6/30/21. I'm just starting on teacher negotiations right now, starting to plan for those. Obviously, with salary and benefits being our number one expense, that is a big driving factor of negotiations, and probably have the first closed session with the board probably in March. We're going to assume that all COVID-related expenses will continue to be paid for with federal grants. So that's good, but those are extra expenses. The thing with the federal grants is you have to supplement, not supplant. And so for the funds we just got, if it's like $320-some thousand, what some districts are doing, I'm finding, is that they are, cutting some things from the budget, and then they can reinstate them with the federal funding. So there's lots of things to be considered as we go through this. So I'll be looking at all of those options. Then just a quick comment on our operating levy. The last year of our $247 operating levy is 2324, which is still a couple of years away. And if by chance we would, decide to go for a levy this fall, that wouldn't be revenue until the 22-23 school year. So as we have budget discussions, I think that's on the table, is what should we do. I'll be formulating some options perhaps for future discussion with the board. So really my recommendation tonight is to, I'll complete the final financial projections with various scenarios to review at the March 8th work session, and then internally we're going to start having some discussions regarding possible budget adjustments. Really, Tim and I have been talking about this for a couple of years with lists that we have. We implemented some of them last year with some chargebacks to Fund 4. We had to reinstate some of them. We did last year, the pairs, because we needed more pairs for supervision, and so things kind of got a little mixed up there, but we will start having some discussions about what some possible budget adjustments. Revenue increases are on the table. Last year we did, you voted to approve an increase to the activity revenue, but we never implemented because of COVID. So we've got some things that we kind of put on the back burner that we can resurrect again for our discussions. So I don't necessarily have anything to approve tonight. I just wanted to give you an update on what we're doing and kind of what the financial picture looks like. I think 21-22 is going to be budget is going to be a challenge. And, we'll see what the legislature does. We'll see what the federal government does, and, take a look at negotiations and try to put together a picture that is a balanced budget, or at least doesn't take us below our fund balance goal.
What is the
Questions?
Is the state? Is this a year that the state allocates a percentage to schools?
Yep. This is a budget year.
Because I thought I saw in the paper that Walz is talking about 1%.
Yeah, Governor Walz is proposing 1% in year one and 2.5% in year two.
Okay.
And the 1% for next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And normally we have been getting 2 and 2, so that first year would be a little tough for us. But 2.5 would be great. 2.5 would be fantastic, but it would be a 1 year kind of hit.
Well, but they're looking at, they're going to have the state's going to be running some deficits, aren't they?
Yeah, they could do some shifts in aid payments to schools. That is a trick that they use quite frequently. But they have to have a balanced budget.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know what, funds the state will get from the federal government. Everything is so up in the air. Yeah. It's just really difficult to plan. And, I have a good handle on what's going on. It's just there's so many variables right now. It's tough to find out what route it's going to take.
Andy, could you clarify, so you have a note there saying, I hope to have a minimum of 1.8 million in unassigned fund balance
Cushion.
above the 3.5?
Yes.
Got it, okay, I
Yeah,
was gonna
a
say,
cushion,
Mike,
yep.
that's below the fund balance of 8%.
Yep, yep, no, that
Okay.
would be a cushion.
Got it, okay, I'm glad I
Yep.
asked, because I was like scratching my head about
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah. And I hope that would be higher. I really do, you know? But like I said, things are so volatile this year, it's very difficult to pinpoint. Usually I'm pretty close by now, but it's pretty tough. Any other questions?
no, I don't have anything. Okay,
Okay, so again, nothing to approve, just
Okay.
wanted to update you.
perfect. All right,
Thank you.
we'll move to 6.3, the approval of Chromebook order for fiscal year 22-23.
Right, normally, by the time we make our Chromebook order, we've already have an approved budget, but this year, just to give you an example, the Chromebooks that we ordered last June still aren't here. Yeah, so everybody is trying to buy Chromebooks because of the distance learning, and so our vendor is really recommending that we place our order for next year early. So because our budget isn't close to being approved, I feel like I need to get approval for that, for the board. So we have a planned cycle for Chromebooks. And we're at a point now where we always replace 5th grade and 9th grade. Took us a while to get to a place where we have a good plan. And so we're looking at lease payments of about $40,000 a year for 4 years, which is actually lower than it has been. But just wanted to get your approval to place that order for the leased Chromebooks. We usually lease them for 3 years, now we go 4 years, because they're better quality than they used to be back when we very first started. But I would just like your approval to go ahead and do that in advance of the budget approval, so hopefully we can get them by this fall.
Any questions, comments?
Sounds good.
Do you have a motion?
I move we
I'll make
order the
a
Chromebooks.
Motion to approve it, the Chromebook purchase.
Second.
Okay, motion by Tammy, second by Kim. Mark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt? Me, a yes. Dennis? Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes,
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, district calendar, we get to adjust it again.
Okay, well, first we got the 21-22 district calendar for approval. Just a review on this, I brought this forward at our last school board meeting. We have a waiver from the state. We were granted a waiver a couple years ago to have a flexible learning calendar, which we start before Labor Day, the week before Labor Day. Next year it'd be August 30th, and with the goal of ending in May. Like I informed you at our last board meeting, it's just a weird calendar. It's very difficult to put in a spring break, with especially Easter being so late. And so it's not one really where we can survey people or whatever, because it's pretty cut and dry on the available dates that we can have off. So with this calendar, everything, I guess, is pretty self-explanatory, I guess. In April there, like I told you about Easter, we can get that Friday and Monday off. There's a few other spots in the calendar for days off, but to be able to, again, start in August and in May, there really isn't much options for us to go with. Normally, we would do a survey with staff and families. But I know people are asking what the calendar is. People are planning, and we need to get this approved tonight. Are there any questions?
You had made a comment last time, I
I'll
think.
make a motion to approve the calendar.
A motion, do you have a second?
Second.
All right, I'll just ask a question before. So you mentioned that you'd met with union representation. They were all fine with
Yep.
spring break? or
Yeah, I give
like
it to
that?
them rather than forming another committee, so.
got it.
Yeah, I got their input. There were a couple changes on when conferences are and stuff like that. And, you know, if we do need to make, I mean, we can always go back. But yeah, basically the framework, there really isn't much to, the way the holidays land really restricts any type of flexibility we can have. You know, maybe the following year there will be a spring break. I know this district used to go every other year. It's been a while since we haven't had a spring break, but with the way things are now, I think a lot of families are going to go when they want to go. And with our staff, we have discretionary leave too. So I think those two play into a factor on this whole thing.
Okay. All right, any more discussion? All right, we have a motion by Dennis, seconded by Mark. Mark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt, yes. Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. All right, now we get to go to the 2021
Yes.
calendar change.
Yeah, another, and I'm not going to tell you this is the last change we're going to make to this year's calendar because it just seems like every board meeting we're making a change. But if you remember, we had the governor's order, Governor Walz's order back in, I think it was late October, probably was October, I can't remember, or November, losing track of time here, for additional planning time for teachers that are in the hybrid and distance learning. I informed our staff and families we would have 2 days of planning along to go with their 2-hour early release on Wednesday. And we did the first planning day on December 7th. And just the way things were going about getting kids back to school, I didn't want to interrupt with another day. So my proposed date for that planning day is March 12th. Now, I'm going to talk more about where I see us going for full-time in-person learning and hybrid learning and distance learning. I'm going to talk about that at the work session, but my proposed date is Friday, March 12th, and I'd like to get that approved tonight so we can get this information to our families and staff as soon as possible.
And that's for K-12?
Yes, it's K-12. Thank you. I should have said that. It's K-12.
Any questions, comments? Okay. A motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay. Motioned and seconded. Mark, how do you vote?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt, yes. Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Anything else? Any comments or before we adjourn and move to work session? All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. How do you vote, Mark?
Yes.
Leo?
Yes.
Matt, yes. Dennis?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
Jean?
Yes.
Tammy?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. We are now adjourned. All right,